Hi everyone and welcome back to Hygge Gaming and another Monday guide. My name is Badger.
And I am Boppus.
And in today's guide we're going to talk about supply chain management. No, I'm kidding. We're going to talk about... No, I'm not really kidding.
No,
we're going to talk
not.
about top 6 supply mechanics.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a lot of nerdy stuff with a lot of trains, logistics and supply chain management, basically World War II style.
Yeah, I would say this is an economy guide, isn't it?
I wouldn't say it's a kind of... No. It's a naval guide. It's basically a naval guide.
Oh, if you draw in the naval supply in this, I will walk out of the room.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah.
Okay, so the design of this episode will be the format that you're quite familiar with.
Yeah.
Familiar, I can't say it by now. And that is that we have both presented 3 things each that we will talk about one at a time, and we don't know what the other one will bring to the table. So we're going to take them from the top and then work down to the top 6. So it might be doubles popping up, and then it might be top 5 things or top 4 things. Who knows?
Top 1.
No,
that's impossible.
Top 3.
Top 3 is the lowest
one.
But we're kind of good at throwing in bonus stuff if we need. So
spoiler alert: I have bonus stuff already.
Of course.
Okay. Yeah, of course. Okay, let's get going.
Yeah.
So who should start?
I think you went with the intro, and I'll start with the first mechanic.
Yeah, go ahead.
And this is a guide. Did you?
Sorry, that wasn't intentional. It was. We're drinking Belgian beers tonight because we're recording this on a Friday, so we're taking the liberty to drink a couple of extra beers. So if you hear us slurring, that's why, basically.
Yeah.
This is instead of going to the pub.
Now, I'm unsure about all the guidelines. This is probably alcohol-free beer, if anyone is asking.
Oh, yes, of course. It's alcohol-free Belgian beer.
Yes.
Not 6%, it's like 0%.
Zeros, yeah. Right? -6. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Now, let's go from alcohol supply to something else.
Yes.
The first mechanic I went in through, and this was a guide I made for, I think it was a Patreon guide, actually. I went into fuel supply because I realized I have never actually understood fuel supply, exactly how it works. I have gotten a feel about it, but never checked everything. And fuel supply is extremely important. If you take your tanks out of fuel, they start going 1 kilometers per hour because the infantry needs to push them. And the stats get really modified downwards.
So is this what I mean, in my head, that's called local supply, or is that...
No. Fuel. Haven't you seen my... Fuel supply is not local supply. If you're not in Saudi Arabia.
Okay. So fuel supply, but that's the supply of fuel that the units are carrying on them, right?
No, that's the supply of fuel coming to the units when they're in the supply range of a supply hub. So they have a fuel regain mechanic, which I also go through in the guide.
All right.
So you have a maximum fuel, which you can carry with you, and you use the fuel when you move. But if you're in range of a supply depot, you regain fuel at a set speed. Okay. As soon as you go 1 tile out of the supply range of that supply hub, you have no fuel at all, and you have to live with that tiny amount of fuel that you carry with you. And that can be devastating. And I didn't really understand how far I could go.
Yeah.
And now I do. And that's according to the supply range. It's an entire guide. I won't go through everything. But that's... yeah.
So what's the important takeaway to know from that one then?
You need to keep track of your supply range all the time when you're advancing. So you don't go outside your supply range.
All right. And is that something you can see with the motorization level, the supply range?
No.
You cannot.
No, you can't. The only thing you can do with the motorization, if I remember correctly now, is that you can increase the amount of supply going out in the set supply range.
But not the range.
But
itself.
you can't push out the range from the hub.
So how do you see? How do you know the range then?
You see it in the supply. In the supply map mode, if you hover a supply depot or a naval base, then you see the range of that specific. So this is
something like, okay, I can promise you, like, top 1% of playing the game knows that map mode. Like
Yeah,
when you hover the supply
that's
hub, and then that you think about the fuel regain range of
yeah, the fuel regain mechanic, really interesting. I won't go
yeah.
into that here, but that's one reason why you should become a Patreon if we're gonna do some advertising here. 11
Okay.
minutes of fuel regain rates
Yeah.
according to supply status
Yeah.
of your
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
stopping myself.
Yeah. But that's basically also, and now you have to correct me if I'm wrong, since you were the one making a guide about this, but that's usually why fuel drums can be quite a good thing as well to have on your tank, in your tank design as well, right?
Yeah, for two reasons. One, that you can go out with more fuel. The
Yeah, you
second
can
in because
overextend yourself. Yeah.
the second thing is that no one has, as you say, no one has any clue about the fuel range or supply range of any hub. So
No, exactly.
that's
So it's kind of good to give yourself a little bit of wiggle room to
yeah.
be able to move around a bit. Okay. No.
Yeah.
All right, but that's a good first one. So we're off to the very nerdy, nitty gritty stuff that no one really knows or cares about, maybe what they should care about. That's what we're
Yeah,
saying, right?
that's what we're saying.
Okay. So fuel regain supply map mode range. That was the first bullet.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna
You're
now I'm
top
gonna
that.
sound no. I'm gonna sound like a toddler because I thought like top 6 supply mechanics to know about. Okay, so I'm going very easy now. So bear with me.
Okay. Yep.
Railway level chokes.
Oh yeah, that's important.
But it sounds so stupid now when you came up with that level of mechanic, and now I come with this one. This one I probably like 30-40% of people knows at least. No, I don't know. Everyone knows it maybe, but yeah. So basically, what I'm saying is that all supply comes from your capital in the game.
Yeah.
So no matter where you are on the map, no matter what kind of units you control, all the supply comes from like a direct line from your capital, and it's like water. It takes the easiest way to get to the point, and easiest way also means the best supplied way. So if you have a upgraded supply route somehow, it will take that route. So and I don't know exactly how the trade-off is designed or the prioritization is designed, but I think it's closest and highest supply level or something like that. That's how it works.
Yeah.
But anyways, so a common mistake is that you some way on the way to your units on the battlefield, wherever you are, there might be like the chain might be weak somewhere, that you have maybe like a level 3 railroad all the way apart from between like one little distance somewhere where it's only level 1 railroad.
Yeah.
And that ruins everything because all the supply needs to go through there, and that becomes a bottleneck and nothing gets through. So even though it's level 3 after that,
Yeah.
it's only like the level 1 is stopping everything. It's like having a old school network cable and you have very good like a fiber network. Like, it doesn't matter how quick it is coming into your router if the cable is shit to the computer.
Are you describing my setup?
Yeah, we talked about his shitty internet before this. That's why it was top of mind. But yes, that's true. It's basically your network situation in your home.
We can do a podcast about that.
Yeah. Okay, so I think so. And there are some tooltips for this in the game. So Paradox actually thought about this, that this is an important thing, and there are some like easy ways to look about it. I won't try to explain it now in this like in this medium when we do like a guide/vodcast podcast format. But yeah, you can easily find, it will tell you if you hover some of the supply, it will tell you where the choke but the bottleneck is basically.
Yeah.
And then you can auto upgrade everything on the way to the units as well.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend doing that, but I would recommend looking at it to understand where it is.
Yeah. I can throw in a bonus here.
Yeah,
one I thought about but didn't go for, and that is upgrading the railway, because most capitals are inland.
Yeah.
And when you're fighting overseas, which you usually are, many people are, upgrading the railway, is that one of your points?
Yeah, now you take your bonus one is my second one. Okay, that's fine. I prepared more.
Okay,
it's all right.
That you need to upgrade the railway to your naval base, and also upgrade the naval base to a level 10 naval base, so you have maximum supply going out from the naval base, or actually, at least according to the lowest naval base you have overseas.
Yeah, exactly. So to give some concrete advice, London is not a coastal city. So if you're playing the UK, first of all, you need to upgrade the railroad from London to the nearest port, which is
Yeah.
the biggest port, which is usually the one right to the east. And then you may need to make sure that that port or naval base that comes straight from London is upgraded, because
Yes.
if not, that will be the bottleneck of your whole supply system, because you're always fighting abroad as the UK.
Yeah.
And I mean, the US, they have the capital on the coastline, so they just need to upgrade the naval base. But the same goes with Tokyo, right? So
Yeah, and Rome.
yeah, and Rome.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Rome is not a port, so
Rome is
you
not a
need.
port, so you need
Yeah,
it's
that's like
Lazio
London.
and Anzio or something.
Yeah, so you need to upgrade the railroad from Rome as well.
Yeah, if you don't want to build a port in Rome, I think.
Yeah, how many does that, do you think? Honestly,
No,
yeah,
perhaps
yeah,
not.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is a very important point.
Yeah.
So now it's back to you, the third one.
The third one. So
Yeah,
it's a little bit connected to this. So my third one is naval bases and their connection to supply hubs. So I'm going easy on everyone here, but bear with me. I made a
yeah,
guide about this also, but naval bases is also a supply hub on the
yeah,
coast. So if you need a supply hub on a coastline or just or near a coastline, it's better to build a naval base because they function exactly as a supply hub. And
and they are much cheaper.
much cheaper, like a fourth of the cost to build a level
Yeah,
1
yeah,
naval base. And here comes, there's a lot of interesting stuff with this. But if you have 3 level 1 naval bases in a supply network,
yeah,
you won't bring in more supply into that network. So the entire supply network is bottlenecked by the biggest naval base in that supply network. So think about North Africa's Italy.
yeah,
If you have level 1 naval bases along the entire coast
yeah,
and a railroad underneath it,
yeah,
it will not bring in any more supply than one naval base will. You will have more supply hubs, but not more
yeah,
supply coming in through the sea. So if you connect that to a supply hub, the supply hub can only be supplied by the lowest naval base, so a level 1 naval base. So they just get 8 or something in supply.
yeah,
And the second thing here is that if you build a level 10 naval base, build a
yeah,
railway and connect it to a level 1 naval base, that level 1 naval base functions as a level 10 naval base. Because you have the railway pushing supply to that level 1 naval base,
Really?
which is also a supply hub. And the supply hub takes the supply coming in from the naval base. Yeah. Check my entire guide about this, but this is really, really amazing.
Okay, so I didn't know this. Okay, so play with the idea. You're in North Africa. You're the Italians. You want to push for El Alamein.
Yeah.
You have a level 10 naval. Let's say you upgrade Benghazi to level 10, right? That's like a common thing that people do.
Yeah.
And then you make a railroad down towards El Alamein. And then some people, which is quite common as well, they build a naval base just outside the choke point, right?
Yes.
So they have local supply where they want to fight before
Yeah.
they assault the forts that usually are built there. You're saying that if I build a level 1 naval base just outside the fort,
Yeah.
that will act, because it comes from the railways, as the level 10.
Yes.
It will act like a regular supply hub, basically.
Yeah.
So because it will be
Supplied by a level
by
10 naval base.
Yeah.
If you have connected it with a level 5 railroad. So the
Yeah.
railroad is
Yeah.
still a choke point.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. No, but I mean,
and that you can do a lot with that. If you understand that mechanic,
yeah,
it really changes how you can supply your troops abroad.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure if I wouldn't say I knew that, but I've played as I knew that, even though I didn't know that. So because I've used it as supply hubs, but I thought there was some kind of cap to the naval bases in relation to. I thought that supply hubs had a higher cap somehow. But okay, but that's a great one. That's a very good one. So basically, naval bases, they are the shit.
Yeah, they are the shit.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not like the Navy, which is. Oh,
okay. I can already hear this is turning into a Navy guide. Everything we talk about is Navy so far. Okay. So my second one, which is the fourth one then, or my third one, to be honest, because you stole one from me. But let's go ahead. And that is, are you ready? It's a naval one. That is, no. So, okay. So if you, I see if I can explain this in an easy way. So a navy, a task group, which is a navy, is operating out of its home port. So you when you use a navy, you need to you can control right click wherever its home port is, which is the port it's going out of. That home port needs supply to supply that navy. So this is a very common what do you call it, like mistake people make in the Pacific War. So you rebase. So let me give you an example. So you rebase if you're the US. Let's say you rebase your navy to Hawaii. Hawaii is now the home base, naval base of your fleet.
Yes.
Let's say, but Hawaii is supplied from the capital, which is Washington.
Yeah.
So let's say that the Japanese raids the supply coming from Washington to Hawaii, then the entire navy will be out of supply and it won't be able to fight because its home port is Hawaii. Yeah. So that's a common way to crush someone's navy, is to raid the navy, basically. So you can raid out someone's navy if it's based where it's not supposed to be based, or if it's based too offensively where it's out of supply, or that local supply hub where it's based doesn't have enough supply. It might be a bottleneck somewhere in the supplies coming to that port. So let's say you take like a doomsday stack and it's based on a level 1 port somewhere.
Then you're
and it might not get the supply it needs, and then it will not be able to fight properly or get fuel or anything.
Yeah, this is extremely important, and really, really easy to make the mistake either going to a low level port, or getting raided without noticing it, and then your fleet is sunk. And with that said, I just need to comment on this because we made the top 6 naval Vodcast. I'm pretty sure you mentioned this, because I have a little memory of me poking at you saying that you have made like 4 guides on the naval raiding subject, and you even managed to squeeze it in to the supply podcast.
I can't remember if I talked about but and anyways, I think this it's a very, very important one, and like a very common misunderstanding, and it's important thing to notice. It's not the same as going into a level 1 port with a big navy. You can still go into a level 1 port with a big navy, and that's fine. But you can't rebase to that port. It's a big difference. It's a small difference, but it makes all the difference in the world.
So, really important.
Okay, so next one is you.
And this gonna start with saying there's 2 ways of lowering supply use for a unit. You can either lower the supply use outside the template. I think that's the most easy way to say it. You can lower supply use with focuses, with spirits, with different stuff, with doctrines.
Advisors?
Advisor, I don't think, not in vanilla, there's no advisors to lower supply. But you can lower it with
traits.
With traits. Traits. Logistics wizard can lower it. You can lower it with doctrines and so forth. So that's one way of lowering supply use, which is not connected at all with what's it called? Supply. Oh, in the template.
Weight or supply use.
Motorized logistics. The logistic support company. So these are 2 different mechanics, so they don't stack at all. But the mechanic outside the template stacks. And I made a guide about this, because you can go with taking doctrines, getting minus 20% in supply. You can get that logistic wizard gaining minus 15 extra % in supply, then you're up to 35%. And I pushed this as far as I could and got down to minus 97% or something like that. I'm not sure every focus are still in the game now. I didn't check. But this is one way of really, really stacking these supply bonuses. And since they are additive, like if you gain minus 20% here, minus 20% here, they're minus 40%. So every extra you get will lower supply. It might say 20% more, but you only have 20 of the 60 left, which means 1/3 more is gone, and so forth.
No, it's extremely, extremely powerful, and especially if you're playing like a tank player or something, like you're stacking or concentrating a lot of troops in a small area.
Yeah,
it's extremely valuable.
Like Eastern Front, China, there's a lot of places defending India, just being able to stack up good forces on the low supply tiles. And knowing, so that minus part outside the template, I find extremely interesting and really, really important to know that this is stacking.
Yeah, I mean, every time I play the UK, I prioritize this over unit stats. Because in the mod we play, Gibraltar is it's impassable to get to Gibraltar, so it's like an island basically. And then if you're gonna stack that, you need a lot of like supply buffs to be able to stack it properly, to have like a lot of units. But also like in North Africa, where all the Commonwealth miners stack up all their tanks. If your units doesn't weight that much, or not weight, that's the different thing. But if they have low, like if you have good supply buffs, so to speak, then you don't steal the supply of everyone else.
No.
So it is very, 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 very valuable to prioritize that. Especially if you play like for everyone.
Almost for everyone.
For D-Days, especially.
But if you play a country that has some spirits or focuses that gives you extra minus in supply, that might even change which doctrine you should take. You might be able to take a doctrine. You should take a doctrine continuing to lowering that supply, because you can get it down really, really low.
And it's usually what's called supply consumption minus %, right?
So I'd probably put it on screen somewhere.
When editing. Okay. All right. Okay. So my last one.
Yes.
To bind the time here. and this is it's a sneaky one, but it's an important one, and that is, I think everyone noticed like how you can use motorization on either supply hubs or generals, right? So if you put or field marshals, so if you put up a motorization on general, then that means that all of your units walking around on the map, they will automatically like flip the supply hubs that they're walking up to on a higher like motorization level, right?
Yes.
So important thing, and this is something that like a lot of people miss. Let's say you're playing a country with a lot of airplanes, and then you want to use those airplanes, especially on small islands in the Pacific again. Then you need to manually motorize the supply hub, enable to get supply enough for your airplanes. So usually, like a lot of like play styles, and I'm guilty of this as well, is that you only think about motorization when you do it on your generals, like, oh, this is my units, they need supply, click, then you do the full motorization on that general, and then off you go, right? But then all of a sudden you have you have 1,000 or 2,000 airplanes in an airbase, and that airbase doesn't get the supply it needs because there's no units there. And then you need to motorize the supply hub next to that airbase manually in order to get supply enough to the airplanes. And that is a very important thing that a lot of people miss, because the airplanes will be worthless without fuel. So so it's like one of those nitty-gritty things again, that is like sometimes like you're out on some island somewhere and you're trying to get rid of all the submarines raiding everywhere. And either you're raided, so the airplanes on that island doesn't get any fuel because they're raided, or you don't have any fuel enough locally because you haven't motorized the supply hub. So your airplanes won't be able to fly. So it's like two common mistakes.
I must just admit straight away that I'm really, really bad at motorizing supply for airplanes. When microing my tanks or anything else. But it's I realize how important it is to keep track on the supply on the airplanes, because
they would be worthless.
Yeah, because the air war is so important in this game. It's can't be underestimated.
Yeah. Right, your last one.
Haven't I done? Yeah, I've done 3.
You started.
Yeah, I
Maybe
started.
you started.
Yeah, I started and stole one from you.
Yeah, okay, still okay. Yeah, and
you want even more?
No, it's fine. It's fine. I think
we're 25 minutes.
Yeah, 25 minutes. Perfect timing.
Yeah.
So that was the. Can we agree to that fact? That was top 6 most important supply mechanics, not fuel mechanics.
Yeah. I fucking. I didn't swear there. I think
you've had
so.
You've had too many 0% beers, right?
Yeah, they are really kicking in now.
Yeah, all that 0%.
Yeah, all the water.
Yeah. All right, so that was it, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Thank everyone for watching, listening, or whatever medium you're using or watching to tune in.
Yeah,
and we see you next week.
Yeah, and if you want even more, become a Patreon, and for some reason you're gonna see even more of us.
yeah, that's right. So if you become a Patreon, you'll get 50% more content minimum. That's what we're promising, and some early access and everything.
Yeah.
So check it out, and we have a full archive of Patreon stuff in our Patreon site.
Yeah. See you guys next time.
Yeah. See you guys next time.